Not good.
Welcome to ComicCast issue number 192, brought to you by Dwayne's World Comics and Games, 457 East Sullivan Street in Kingsport, Tennessee. They carry comic books, graphic novels, statues, toys, and gaming merchandise, including miniature games, board games, and RPGs. Check them out, Dwayne's World Comics and Games, Kingsport, Tennessee. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm Adam Wade Adams.
I'm Jason.
And I am Gaumer's digital avatar.
We are at ComicCast Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, wherever you get social with your media. You're listening to this on YouTube via the S&B Network. Make sure you go ahead and smash the like button, share out the link. Let's grow the live chat. If you're not joining us on YouTube, you can also catch this via the Outright Geekery Podcast Network on all major podcast platforms. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, leave a rating, all that good stuff. You can check an amazing pre-show out. Patreon.com/ComicCastPod. Gaumer, spoiler alert, does not shut up the entire
He did so much show beforehand. Yeah.
I'm really going to have to pace myself now.
I'm just telling you. Gaumer does not shut up. So, well, this is weird. This is a little awkward. It's for cartoon.
This is like South Park.
I don't know what's going to happen. Look, I mean, we got people hanging out in the chat. Venomized Ryan is excited. Amy Laura, never seen her in our chat before. She's like, woohoo, made it just in time. She's so excited.
I've been so wanting to ask Kelly Thompson some questions. Yes. And she has not shown up.
She's not here yet, but stick around because she should be here soon.
We're going to get stood up.
I'm more of a visual communicator.
Hey, Jason, kick the Gaumer.
If you could see my face.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It would tell a lot more.
Yeah. This is.
But yeah, hey, Amy. What do you want us to talk about, Amy? You are the new person here. Thank you for showing up. Boogie is stunned. He doesn't know what to do. So like I did over on CyberCon.
He's not good. CyberCon?
I'm hijacking this thing.
Oh, wow. He's hijacking it.
While Amy comes up with a question, Jason, tell everybody what's going on with other online conventions going on.
So next weekend is Mainframe Comic-Con. This is probably the biggest online Comic-Con yet. There's one this weekend that just happens. It was a bunch of YouTubers and quote-unquote influencers. But guess what? Next weekend, there's some actual stars like Kevin Smith and like Donnie Cates and a bunch of other people.
If they show up.
They're showing up. It's going to be dope, though. But you can catch that on the Comic Core and also Mainframe Comic-Con on YouTube. So it's going to be dope. So show up. And it's all charity, too.
Yeah.
Charity for Hero Initiative and Red Cross. So good for a good cause.
There will be links in the chat. Go donate blood if you
Venomized Ron's pissed. Amy's the new number one fan. Venomized Ron, she doesn't have an emoji like you do, though. Yeah. So, but we are happy you're here. Stick around. I just tried to touch base with Kelly, so hopefully she'll be here soon. We'll go all night. Look, I'm that guy. If you stand me up, I'm going to stick around at the bowling alley all night long.
I'm drinking the whole bottle of wine.
I'm drinking all the beer. I'm eating all the pizza.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm ordering an appetizer, and I'm not leaving till it's all done.
Whether she shows up or not, I got a lot of Kelly Thompson books to talk about today.
Me too,
That's
man.
all read, bro.
And honestly, I don't even care at this point if she shows up. Best case scenario. Honestly, no, I do too, but I'm trying to bright side it, Boogie. Best case scenario, I read some damn good comic books, man.
Look, you better be refreshing your email too, just in case.
I am. And I just sent her another email just to make sure. Amy says, okay, I'll ask you guys questions. Why not? I'm here. How you guys reading your comics with the stores being closed?
Great question.
For me, I'm enjoying going back. We talked about this right before we went live. I'm reading old stuff that I want to read. Like when you do a weekly comic book review podcast, there's a lot of stuff you read because you feel like you have to review it. But like I'm going back and reading some Jason Aaron Thor. Even though I pulled the single issues, I read The Button this week. I read Captain Marvel, of course, a lot of Kelly Thompson stuff. I read the Jim Cornette behind the curtain stuff,
Oh, sweet.
which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But what about you, Gummer? What are you reading?
Well, I'm going through back issues. I'm rereading House of X and Powers of 10 and going all the way through Dawn of X. But I've been diving into, because Comixology is like free for 2 months right now. Marvel Unlimited is free for, I think, the same thing, 60 days. So I've been jumping in there and reading like old X-Men. That it got me like in this X-Men wormhole, rabbit hole. And I went back and read some old Excalibur after reading another Excalibur stuff. Because I back in the day, I just kind of skipped a lot of that stuff. You know? I thumbed through, and it was really quick, some Age of Apocalypse, just to look at the art and the cool character designs, just to see if there's anything. I don't know if I'm like investigating Dawn of X. It sort of felt like that, but yeah, I've been diving deep. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
I'll be honest. Yeah, I read about 5 issues of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles earlier this week.
I recently listened to Comic Book Bullies, and they went over the New Mutants, the Bill Sienkiewicz art and Claremont, I think. It seems like the run that that the movie's going to be about. So I bought that off of Comixology, and I'm stoked to read it.
Nice.
They made it seem really exciting. Yeah, it seems like a really cool horror movie, or a horror story, you know.
Cool. Oh, DC Universe, I've heard good things about that. Talking to Amy in the chat. I don't have it, but
yeah. DC Universe is cool. I've been watching Harley Quinn.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, it's fun.
I should get the week and just catch up on everything, because I heard Swamp Thing is rad. I heard Titans is cool.
Oh, dude, Swamp Thing is so good.
What's that other show on there? Is Doom Patrol? Yeah, Doom Patrol.
So good.
That's Adam's show.
Yeah, that's Adam. Adam's here. How are you reading comics?
All he's doing is playing Minecraft, bro. We got things to do.
We got digital comics or whatever. No, it's digital cartoon movies. No, comic movies. What are they called? Live action.
Motion comics.
What are they called?
Motion comics.
Adam, what are they called? Motion comics. That's it.
Yeah, and Venomized Ryan, say no to digital. No, I'm all for say no to digital for new comics, and while the industry is sort of on pause right now, but I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to
Hey, Gomer.
Other things. I'm trying to help you, Boogie.
Gomer.
I'm still thinking you're in shock, bro.
Would you just listen?
Yes.
Shut up, because Kelly Thompson has arrived.
Hey, all right.
Kelly Thompson, welcome to ComicCast.
What's that?
Hi. I'm so sorry, guys. I somehow put the wrong time in my thing. I thought it was at 6. My bad. I'm very sorry.
Fashionably late.
Yeah,
It made for a great intro, so all was well. All was well.
I'm very dramatic. You should know that about me.
Extra. Yeah.
I had this great, big, amazing intro planned out too. I was going to talk about all these books you wrote, but Kelly Thompson has arrived. We're giving the people what they want. That's all they've been saying in the live chats. Where's Kelly?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys have got the live comments going. I've never done one quite like this before.
Oh, man.
They're all excited now. They're like, oh my gosh, it's a good show now.
We got Captain Marvel emojis in the chat too. It's dope.
Oh yeah, you guys. Anybody new to the channel, you can subscribe, join the channel for 99 cents a month, and you can play with those sweet custom emojis. And we got a Captain Marvel emoji for this week. So
and
check that out.
While we do the live thing every week, I mean during all the shutdown and everything, a lot of the conventions we were just talking about have moved to that sort of live format. Are you getting in on any of that, or this is your first? This is your convention appearance for 2020.
For me, this is it. But I never do conventions anyway, so this is sort of the best I've ever done anyway.
Nice. Do you want to do them next weekend?
Oh wow!
Listen to this guy,
dude.
Pack it down, Jason.
Why not? You know, I'm helping out with Mainframe Comic-Con next weekend, and we got like Kevin Smith, Donnie Cates, and a bunch of other of your homies that are going to be there. So it's like, why not? You know?
Well, isn't it a video thing though?
Yeah, it's true, but we can do it like this too if you want.
Yeah, we can do it like this. Everyone else would be video, and you would just be your picture.
Yeah,
a little weird. Why do I
think it over? You got
you think about it.
Yeah.
Just tell him no, Kelly. I tell him no all the time. Gomer's over here acting like, oh yeah, we're doing this and that, and he's not even involved. He's just making.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh well, I guess we're gonna rewind time 10 minutes, and we're gonna give the people what they want and put Kelly on the spot. Not to make you nervous, but we got a little icebreaker around here, and I hope you have an answer, because my wife fusses at me for asking this question. We want to know, what is your favorite Rocky movie?
I mean, Rocky 1, right?
Oh, because course.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's fun stuff. I mean, I guess I don't know all the like Russian training stuff, like
Yeah.
those two things into that stuff's so good. Yeah, I don't know. I still think you got to go with one.
There you go.
There are
the winner so far.
there are no wrong answers, but that is the right answer. You're
5
right.
is the wrong answer. Part 5 is definitely the wrong
No,
answer.
there are no wrong.
Do not trust anyone that picks 5.
Is that the one with this like street
Yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not good.
No bueno. Not for me.
I will proclaim that the fifth one, story-wise, in the grand scheme, makes sense, but as far as the movie itself, not that great.
Yeah, failure.
It makes sense that he ends up back where he started.
Oh, the poetry of the Rocky franchise.
What else you
Let's
got?
what, Jason?
I was saying, what else you got?
Well, I selfishly, what do I got? I mean, we have so many things we want to ask you, going from X-Men to Captain Marvel, but Jason just asked me what I wanted, so I'm going to be selfish and I'm going to go Jessica Jones route. And what I really want to know, like the big thing for me, first, I want to talk about the release schedule. When you took over Jessica Jones, well, 2 things. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions at the same time. The pressure of following Brian Michael Bendis, the guy that created the character and the only person to write the character till you took over. And then I want to kind of talk about the release schedule, the going digital first, then coming out in trade, and then coming out in singles. So let's talk Jessica Jones. I don't care what everybody else wants to talk about.
Yeah. I think Brian Michael Bendis saw how good Nancy Drew was, and he's like, damn, she needs to write
Right?
Jones.
No, it was before Nancy Drew was out.
What is it? Oh, my bad. Damn.
Yeah, I think he was probably looked at Hawkeye.
Okay.
And Jessica Jones guest stars in a couple of those issues, so I think that the combination of Hawkeye sort of being a detective thing and other stuff I was doing, plus Jessica Jones showing up in those issues, I think he thought, we didn't talk specifically about it, but I think he felt like I could handle the character. So,
Well, that explains the Deadpool work too now from Rogue and Gambit.
well, it doesn't always work that way, but yeah, I mean, definitely if you've got characters you like and that you're passionate about and you try to work them into other things, cough, Elsa Bloodstone, cough.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Help you build up an idea that maybe you can write that character some more, and that
I'm gonna need a little tiny shark guy plush toy sometime soon, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
He's adorable.
And following up with that release schedule, like, what was this a Marvel idea? Like, was that the plan all along, or was the plan to go digital? Because I bought, and maybe you guys just know what you're doing, because I bought it digitally and then I bought it in trade, and then I'm like, God, I just want to read the single issues now as they're coming out too. Like, what was it? Just trying something different?
Well, I really appreciate the support, but yeah, I mean, you sort of got screwed there.
Oh wow, thanks.
No, listen, you're the reason. Probably people like you are the reason we got to come out in floppy. I mean, honestly, those decisions are sort of above my pay grade. When I came in, when Brian called me and sort of handed off the torch, and I knew I was doing it, I initially thought we were just going to be regular comic. And then at some point pretty early on, they were like, okay, well, we're talking about doing it as a digital first, which would be the method that ended up happening, which is we'll do these digital and then we'll collect the trade, but there will be no single print copies. And we flirted with that for a while. And honestly, it was in flux for a really long time. They were trying to make these decisions. And part of the way you can know that is because even though the digital editions were 40 pages for $5, they still had a clear break between the issues and like another cover. And that was because we didn't know. Like, we were making them, but we weren't sure what was going to happen. So that's why they're still broken up into 20-page chapters, even though they were coming out in 40-page sections. Excuse me. So it was in flux for a long time. I don't know why they do what they do. I mean, here's the thing with the digital first. I think there are problems with it, although certainly now in the comics market we're seeing now, maybe we can see some advantages to it. But I think you have to try new stuff. So I it was hard to be the first big book that was sort of doing that, because the first guy through the wall always gets bloody, and our book was not as successful or well known as I think it sort of deserved. But you have to keep pushing on these things and trying new things. And, so this was an avenue Marvel wanted to try. And so they gave it a try, and it worked to middling results. I mean, I think they were obviously happy enough with it that we got to do 12 issues, which is unfortunately nothing to sneeze at in modern comics. But we didn't get to do more. It was really hard for me to make sure people remembered that the book was out. It was like lots of times that we couldn't get people to review it. I think just because it was out of sight, out of mind, Sure. On the idea to bring it back for floppies, I'm not privy to specifically any of Marvel's thinking about why they wanted to do that. It seemed a bizarre choice to me even at the time. But my hope was, and again, nobody said this to me, but my hope was that they really loved the book the same way I did, and that they also agreed that it didn't get sort of a fair shake. And so, they tried to put it out, give it another try. But, I don't know what your expectations for that can be, because like some of you have already read it multiple times. So what's the audience? You hope you can catch new people, but you don't really expect to catch people who've already read it in one or more forms already, So it's a little tricky. I was really glad they did it. I hoped it would mean maybe we would get more down the line.
Yeah.
I think everything happening in the world right now, my guess is that's the nail in that coffin. Because if we were going to have any chance to do, even just to see Purple Daughter in singles, I feel like Blind Spot had to do really well. And then now, however this all shakes out when it's done, assuming there's a civilization left standing,
right.
I think there will be a glut of material that it seems unlikely that we would get to do more Jessica Jones, which is a huge bummer to me, because
that's a shame.
I love doing it. I think working with Mattia was incredible. I think he was sort of the perfect guy for that. He really brought so much to it. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's some of my best work for Marvel. I think the character's a really good fit for me, and, it was really important to me.
Yeah, we got a question right here about that. And I just want to say, it's interesting to me because the way you talked about who's reading this, how is it working out? Because I read it digitally because I'm a huge Jessica Jones fan. And when it came out digitally, I wanted to read it. And I'm not mad at the idea of, if you give me digital comics for a reasonable price and I can read them in these, issue 1 and 2, 3 and 4, however it comes out. But then when I really enjoy something, I want it physical. So then I'll buy the trade.
Yeah.
And then even our buddies Lost in Comics, they have a podcast too. They're in the live chat right now. They weren't even on this book until the single issues started coming out, and then they were reading it. So it's interesting as to who reads what. But here's a good question that says, Kelly, you said a few times that your work on Jessica Jones has been the best of your career. Why do you feel that way?
I think for a couple reasons. I mean, I don't want to say I cared more about Jessica Jones than other books, because the fact is I have trouble not caring. So I sort of it's really hard for me to not sort of put 100% in, especially if you go through the process of pitching and researching and doing all the work. Even if you weren't in love with the project when you started, you find a way to fall in love, or at least I do. Brian bringing it to me, and Jessica Jones being one of my favorite characters since I was a younger reader, was huge. I think because we were digital, maybe they were giving us a little more room. I felt like because, Jessica's got a little more freedom because of the kind of book she is. With a traditional monthly superhero book, I mean, you just need X number of pages of punching. Nobody tells you that. It's not a formula, but you just sort of develop it as you go. And you're like, oh, well, I'm missing all the action in this book. And occasionally that can work, oh, this is a quieter issue, or this is whatever. But as a rule, you need those elements. And because Jessica is not a traditional superhero, you can move away from that formula a little bit, which I really enjoyed the freedom of that. Jessica's also a character that can be a little darker and that can be a little more on the edge, a little bit more cussing, a little bit more whatever. I like those freedoms also. And I just feel like she's a really natural fit for me. And I was also able to bring in a lot of stuff like, Blind Spot's got a lot of stuff with sort of toxic masculinity and sort of more feminist themes, which are closer to my heart. Purple Daughter has some of that same stuff because you're dealing with Purple Man type stuff. But it also was just like, I felt like it was some of the most emotional work I'd done. And a lot of that came from, we all have to thank Jason Aaron, because it was actually the original, sorry, that's my cat. The original idea was I was going to do purple. It was going to be a purple kid. It wasn't necessarily going to be Danny. And at the summit, I was sort of doing the pitch and talking to everyone about what it was. And Jason Aaron was like, I really think if you're going to do this story, which sounds really good, it should be Danny that's purple. And the whole room sort of got quiet. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, that got me. I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, crap. I have to do that now. It's so good.
That's awesome.
And I had to, there were a lot of logistical things that I had to figure out to make that work, but it was 100% the stronger decision. And I think it was a great example of a really great note or idea coming to you at the right time that really leveled up a story. And I was really excited about it, and I really tried to deliver on it. And I had a conversation very early on with Madia, the artist, because I knew that the story was going to be so emotional that I wasn't going to be able to just, it wasn't going to feel right to have Jessica sort of talking through all of it. And so I needed him to do a lot of heavy lifting in the emotional work of the art. And I came to him and I was like, listen, I know you can do this, but I want to prepare you. Like, I'm going to be asking a lot of you. And he was like, I know I can do it. And I was like, I do too. I wouldn't have tried it if I didn't think you can do it. But man, did he deliver even more than I thought. And so it allowed me to like pull that narration back and let it be quiet when it needed to be quiet, because I could trust him that he could deliver what we needed visually to get it across,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that artist. Do you guys know if that artist was the same person that did Invisible Woman? I just really enjoyed that art, and I feel like it was really similar.
Yes, Maddie did.
So good.
That book was so good.
So good.
My gosh, Invisible Woman was amazing.
Oh yeah.
We got people flooding into the live chat. They're dropping questions and comments. I just want to let you guys know, even though Kelly, we didn't talk about it before you went live, but we talked about it through email. We're going to give away 3 autographed comic books today. You got to be in the live chat. We're going to pick a winner before Kelly gets out of here. So 3 people are going to get. I think the way I want to do it, I'm going to let them pick. We'll pick 3 winners. We'll let them pick their character, and then Kelly, you can pick what issue and just sign it, and then we'll figure everything else out behind the scenes. But stick around, hang out in the live chat, and we're going to give away some free books. But I could talk about Jessica Jones all day long. But I know these guys have some other questions they want to ask. Gomer, I know you're chomping at the bit, so go ahead. Just say what you want to say.
Do you want me to jump in?
I'm going to probably read some Jessica Jones while you do this. So I'll be here though, waiting.
Or I can jump in. I want to jump in actually.
Go ahead, Jason.
Wow. I want to know, like, what was the next art going to be? Who was at the door when Jessica Jones opened it at the end of the second volume?
I don't want to say. Just
no!
But it's also, I mean, you guys know, it's not about that. It's just about showing,
Yeah.
She's gonna keep
open. Yeah, totally.
And for her, that's her thing,
Right. I was so curious. All right.
Although, there is one small silver lining to the Jessica Jones book ending there and us not getting to do more. And that's that I honestly don't know if I could have followed up Purple Daughter. Like, maybe if I had enough time, I could. It was like a really great, emotionally draining arc. And my favorite thing about how that landed was I had to convince my editor, Alana, that while we brought Felipe Andrade on for issue 5, which is the one where nothing looks the same, where she's like trapped in the sort of purple sun world. And, but I told her, I was like, I only want him to do like 18 or 17 and a half pages. It was something like that. I was like, because I want her to break free of that. And when she does, we need to immediately switch to this Madia art. And I thought it landed so well. I was like so happy about it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. You nailed it. I'm sorry, Gomer. You can go ahead.
Gomer, you can go now. Yeah,
I don't know if you want me to go. Okay, here we go.
I really don't, but go
All
ahead.
right, Rogue and Gambit, they've been a thing forever, but not really. You sort of cemented all that in probably the best X-Men run before Hickman, took over and changed everything. I want you back on X books. That's not my question, because I only ask the hard-hitting questions where I can stir things up on Twitter.
Oh God! Oh my gosh!
In Rogue and Gambit #2, which came out on February 7th of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
You play off this idea that the couple can't agree on the first time that they met.
Mm-hmm.
In Batman #79,
What is going on?
release date September 18th, 2019, Tom King,
Trivial Pursuit.
same idea with Batman and Catwoman. Can you comment on this blatant theft?
Wow.
Get out of here.
I think Tom needs to write me a check.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I have not read that issue yet. I'm gonna have to go read it now.
Yeah.
I'm way behind on my Batman because
It's blatant. Everyone is. You're not the only one. Everyone
Venomized
is.
Ron putting you on blast, Gomer.
2 books a month kills me, man.
No, that was not in Mr. and Mrs. X #2.
Oh, Venomized Ron, you've been.
It was in Rogue and Gambit.
Get it.
I'm pretty sure it was in Rogue and Gambit #2,
You're right.
which was
You're
thank
right.
you, Kelly. I don't mean to talk about how
Number one fan. Venomized Ron. I
no,
apologize.
Amy is our new #1 fan.
Yeah, Amy's #1 now. Sorry, Ryan.
That's true. That's true.
But
Sorry,
yeah,
Ron.
I don't even know what else to say about Rogue and Gambit. You just nailed it so in every way, and it was the worst part about Hickman's new Dawn of
I
X.
know everyone wants.
I don't
to
even know what else to
that.
say. It was so good because
Yeah.
it's the same thing with Boogie and Jessica Jones. I could just go on and on.
Thank you.
How did that happen? I know I read in the back you're the fan from the animated series, but I mean, how did you approach that book? How was it approached to you?
So I got fired off of cable,
Mm.
and I didn't really get fired. That's not really how it works. It was very
Yeah.
nice. Everyone was very nice, and then my friend Ed Burson got to write it, so that was great. But it just wasn't really working, and they had asked me when we decided to pull me from the project. Let's put it that way. They asked me they had other stuff coming. What was I interested in? And Rogue and Gambit was one of the first things I said. And they were like, oh, that's great because we're thinking of doing something with them. So we'll circle back. And so then I was like, yes. And then just holding my breath until they circled back, which they did. And so I came up with, at first I was talking with Darren Shan, who, he's a great editor and he's a great friend, but he wasn't as deep in Gambit and Rogue lore as I was. And so I went off. I was like, yeah, we're just going to do it'll be really fun, heisty adventure thing, very sort of moonlighting vibes of them sort of fighting and everything.
And literally moonlighting vibes later.
Yeah. So he was like, okay, great. And so then I was like, let me go away and do some reading and, whatever. So I did a bunch of reading and rereading. And I came back to him with this crazy pitch that was not what I said at all. That was Rogue and Gambit meets Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Right, yes.
And he was like, what happened? And I said, here's what happened. I reread all of this stuff in a concentrated dose and read a few of the things I'd missed. And a lot of it's really, really good. But most of it that's not the older stuff feels like a retread of what came before. I was like, there are exceptions, but we can't also be a retread. We gotta redefine it. We gotta do something crazy. And he was like, nobody wants to see them in therapy. And I was like, bullshit. Everyone wants to see them in therapy.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was great.
I was like,
But it wasn't just them in therapy. It was a classic X-Men trope of people using mutants empowered individuals for their own misdeeds. Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Thank you. Well, in fairness to Darren, he pushed back on me, and through that push and pull, I think we landed on something that was a very good mix of the two things. We could also have crazy doppelgangers that you're fighting and, all this other stuff. So you're working your issues out through punching. And so we ended up with something that was one part superhero comic and one part something else, as opposed to my initial pitch, which was 100% parts not a superhero comic. So I think we landed in a good place.
Well, it got the spin-off into space and the switcheroo with the wedding, the big reveal.
Oh yeah, that
That
was
was not my call, but we were
really?
Whoa.
fortunate that the book was placed in a good spot so that we could. I had left the end of the story pretty open-ended so that we could either have them get back together or not. And then when we found out the wedding was going to happen, it was like, okay, we better make sure they're together. So
yeah, and that was great with Mystique showing. I could go every panel by panel, but I will just say, all due respect to Teenie Howard, I think is on Excalibur. I wish you were on Excalibur.
Same. We love Teenie, but still, same.
I wish you were on Excalibur.
well, I love Teenie, so.
Well, yeah, it's okay to love both, to love the idea of you being on Excalibur and to love Teenie Howard.
I think here's a great example though of I understand people wanting me writing Rogue and Gambit again, and they're in the Excalibur book, and so that's a thing. And I'm very flattered and appreciative that people really like my take. But like Teenie's Excalibur looks just completely different than anything I would do, So if you couldn't just slot me into that just so that I could write Rogue and Gambit, because it wouldn't be anything like that. It would be like a completely different thing. She's doing all this crazy stuff with magic and with Betsy and it's
Apocalypse.
Like, yeah. So
okay, well that's fair. Thank you. Well, let's just move right into Deadpool then, because I think you agreed earlier that that's where your Deadpool gig came from, was how awesome you did with him with that whole egg arc. I don't even remember the name of the arc, but
I think it for the Mr. and Mrs. X arc. What was the name of the first arc?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Love and Marriage.
Maybe.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know all the titles were
children,
great. Yeah. The titles of the individual issues were great too.
Thank you.
I love seeing Kraven the Hunter Jr. back. I thought that was a really cool, foe for Deadpool to have as King of Monsters.
And he's new.
Yeah, it's a new guy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Kraven Jr.
Why is Venomized Ron attacking everybody in the chat? I did not say that.
He's
What are you
just jealous.
talking about?
Amy is number one now. He's just
He
mad.
has flipped. He's flipped since he
has
said Amy
flipped.
was our number one fan, and he's putting words in my mouth.
No, and I think we could be upfront with Deadpool #1, which we did review here. We did have some problems with design choice. At least personally, I had some problems with Chris Botchlow's decisions on design choice. I thought things were a little bit too close up in a lot of those panels. But it's been a great story, and the premise is amazing.
Oh yeah, and Jeff the Shark is back. Everyone loves Jeff the Shark. More Jeff the Shark. Jeff the Shark needs his own series. He's adorable.
That's my greatest creation.
Yes.
Awesome.
Maybe team up with Lockjaw or something.
I really, Chris is incredible. Working with him is really a dream come true. A dream I've had since I was a kid. He drew one of the best rogues when I was a teenager, so of course I loved him. I think when we knew we were doing this monster stuff, we were so excited about it. The pitch went over really well at the summit. People were really excited about it. But I think anytime you're working with someone new, there's always a sort of ramp up to like, I'd never written for Chris before. And I think that when I look at that first issue, I have some issues with it too. I think it's a really good comic. I think it's funny. I think it's beautiful. I think it's got all this great stuff in it. But for example, he didn't see that I wrote something early on that was in a fight scene as a double-page spread. And so he ended up drawing something that I intended to be a double-page spread as a single page. And so, of course, it's crowded, right?
Sure.
And it's amazing how something really small like that, now if Chris had made that decision consciously, if he'd been like, oh, well, she wrote this, but I think this is better, so I'm going to do this, that's different. But this was just like a mistake that was made between us as we were figuring things out. And so as a result, the pacing to me is a little off in that issue. Like that's what I would fix when I look back at it. I think the fight would work a little better at the beginning. And then the end wouldn't have so much space because there's like sort of a lot of space for stuff that doesn't need as much space. So, I mean, sometimes stuff like that just happens,
Sure.
They're all solid jokes, though. You had me right in the beginning when Deadpool's celebrating his birthday alone. And he's on the phone. He's like, I say good day, sir. I say good day. I was like, oh, yes, this is for me.
Well, the book puts him in this position where he is the outcast in charge of a lot of outcasts. And he's still kind of despicable, but he's so much more adorable. And that's really the only word, because he's way in over his head. He's trying to do the right thing. And that's my favorite sort of Deadpool. But that arc ends with another issue, and then I think Gerardo Sandoval is coming on. What's in store with the next arc?
So issue 4 was the end of Chris's run for us. And so Gerardo Sandoval is on issue 5, which is a standalone Deadpool Kaiju issue. And then issue 6 is, so these were both supposed to be out this month.
Yeah.
Issue 6 is Deadpool and the X-Men, because Deadpool breaks into Krakoa. It's got my favorite story title, which isn't even in the issue, so I'm afraid it'll be lost forever. It's called Nobody Cares If You Survive the Experience.
Oh, awesome.
And
that's so great. That's great.
So it's Deadpool breaking into Krakoa. That's drawn by Kevin Lebranda. He did such an amazing job. He drew like the cutest Jeff the Land Shark. It's crazy. And then Gerardo comes back for an arc called True Love Story that's with Deadpool and Elsa a little bit separate from Staten Island, doing a separate mission. And that is issues 7, 8, and 9. And then 10 is another sort of standalone. So we're having a really good time. I was honestly, the biggest bummer for me with everything that's been going on with the quarantine as related to comic books was obviously that Black Widow didn't come out. But separate from that, I was really excited for people to check out these Deadpool books and, see if it was, something they wanted to try out now that we're doing something a little different. I mean, it's still the same book, but it's a little different now. And I think it's interesting.
The cover for issue 5, we saw he's on top of this big Godzilla type thing. I was like, oh, is that Fing Fang Foom? Yeah, I'm glad either way with just a monster. But can you tell us at all, like a little tease about the next arc?
Well, the True Love Story arc?
Yeah.
Sure. So there's a big cliffhanger reveal at the end of 6 of something with Elsa that sort of sends them off onto a separate mission, which Jeff tags along on because he's like,
yes.
And then so it'll be intercutting. It's mostly them, but it intercuts a little bit with what's happening back home on Staten Island. Like, is it falling apart? Like, what's the problem? And it sets up some other plot lines that we've been sort of pushing from the beginning. So
there was a point in issue 4, I think, when Craven the Hunter threw a spear and it was towards Jeff. I was like, oh God, what are you doing, Kelly? No, don't do this to me. I protect Jeff at all costs.
I made a huge mistake at the summit because I basically lost control of myself and yelled at everybody in the room that nobody was to hurt Jeff.
Yes.
Put a huge target on his back. So
oh no.
I do that every week in the planning for this podcast. It's okay to yell at people. There's nothing wrong with that. We got a couple of good questions here, and then we'll kind of bleed one of these into where I want to go next. But Amy Laura says, is there any character you've gotten to write who was extremely exciting to use but also very challenging to write?
Well, I always have trouble with Thor's because of the speech. It doesn't come naturally, and that's not that big a deal, except for that, sometimes when you're trying to bang out a script, it's annoying to just get constantly caught up on, does this sound right for Thor? Am I doing it right? So Thor can be a little tricky, but I'm a big fan.
You need a translator. You need an Asgardian translator.
Yeah, right. Medusa was a character I wasn't particularly excited about and felt a little challenged by because I didn't know a lot about her. I had only read a few stories that featured her. I love that old Paul Jenkins Inhumans series. That was incredible. And with that Jay Lee art. Oh, so good. But I hadn't read a lot about her, and so I really struggled with her. And what ended up happening was I ended up with a take on her that I think you could argue feels wrong for her. But my argument would be that's how she is once she's like hanging out with these A-Force ladies and realizes she doesn't have to be a queen right now. And so she became this like sort of salty, petulant Emma Frost type bitch, where she just was very difficult. And I suddenly found her just delightful to write. And I was having such a good time with her.
I need like a badass bitch team up with Emma Frost, Jessica Jones, and Elsa Bloodstone. Stat. I love the way you write Emma and Bloodstone. Yeah, both of them are so good.
Thank you. They're favorites for sure.
Also, another question that came in the chat was, Can you talk about anything that was coming up with your Black Widow series moving forward?
I can, but it's a little tricky because the basically the issue is like a big mysterious thing, and it's just hard to talk about. It's I can tell you that Elena's art is incredible. Jordy is incredible. I think they're really. I mean, Elena has really leveled up. Her work's always been good, but I think she's really leveled up here. And Jordy is bringing what she does in colors to Black Widow, and we're very lucky to be getting that sort of attention. You know, Jordy Belair doesn't just color comics; she brings a whole other layer to things, which is really important for the kinds of things we're trying to say about Nat. I think the book, this first arc that we're doing, is like a really emotional story where I think you really get to see a different side of Nat, but that ultimately sets her up for a slightly different path. I think we're doing some things that you expect to see in a Black Widow story, that, like, you know, we touch on some of her old foes and some of the Red Room stuff in the vaguest way possible, because I'm tired of that stuff. So I think there are expected things, but you're like seeing them, we're twisting them a little bit, I hope making them sort of interesting again. I think the opening of the Black Widow book, first half maybe, it feels just like sort of a classic Black Widow book, what you might expect. And then the second half is like a hard left turn into something else. And it's really exciting, and I hope you guys are going to love it. I turned in the script for 3 recently, and I think it's turning out really nicely.
You guys waiting on me? You guys wait. Everybody's just waiting on me to transition.
I thought you had some follow-up.
Go ahead, Boogie. Go ahead.
Boogie.
Well, no, we can't get out of here. Everybody, obviously, we got Captain Marvel emojis in the chat. Everybody wants to talk about your Captain Marvel story. And I'll say this: I read the first arc. It's one of those things where I was going to the shop, and I grabbed the first 2, 3, 4 issues, and it's kind of one of those things where I didn't throw it on my pull list, and I'm just kind of grabbing it as I go in the shop. And then all of a sudden, that next issue wasn't there, and I kind of fell off. And then the Last Avenger arc started up. So with issue 12, I was like, I want to read this Last Avenger arc and see what's going on. And I went to the shop. It wasn't there. So I went on your website, and you had it on there, and you had it autographed at a very reasonable price. Anybody that's interested, obviously, we're going to give away some autographed copies. I've already said that, but the link's in the description to Kelly's website where you can pick up some comics from her autograph. Again, very reasonable price. I picked up issue 12 and got it autographed. And you had closed your store because it was around Christmas time. And not only did you send me issue 12 autographed, you also sent me an autographed copy of Deadpool #1.
So awesome.
No extra charge.
Nice for you. That rules.
And it was on your website. Hey, if you're ordering after this time, you know, I'm probably not going to ship until after the holiday, but yet you still throw in an extra comic for free. But everybody wants to talk about this. I really enjoyed the Last Avenger arc. Can you talk a little bit about that? That's kind of open-ended, I guess, but
Sure. First, thank you for the order. That's super nice. I do guiltily send people extra books a lot of times just because I feel like I should ship faster than I do, but it tends to get away from me. And then I'm like,
you have social, Boogie. See?
Yeah.
And her fans love her, though. It's so good.
It is affordable if you're buying books, except for the shipping, because the priority mail is just so expensive. So it's a pretty good deal if you want to buy more than one thing. If you only want to buy one thing, it's not a great deal. Anyway, so yeah, Last Avenger was this thing I just wanted to do, and I was sort of like hoping I could trick Marvel to just like getting out of my way and letting me do it. And they helped me, and then they got it out of the way. And so we just sort of went all the way. I was like, I'm going to kill the Avengers. This one's going to end with Thor's dead head. And, you know, there was actually, I had a pretty good conversation with Tom Brevoort about it when we were figuring it out, because he was like, you know, but nobody's going to think he's dead. And I was like, but that's not the point. The point is what happened. the point is, how did we get here? What's really going on? I don't really care if anyone thinks he's not dead. Sure, nobody thinks she just killed Thor, or very few people think that. But what we do want to know as readers is, if he's not dead, then how did this happen? How is she holding his head? What's really going on? So like that was my, and they were like, okay. They're like, if you think you can sell that. And I was like, I think I can. And so it worked out. We had the benefit of having this incredible Lee Jarbet art. He really brought it, I thought. He nailed, like, it was going to be so much fighting stuff. And we weren't going to have nearly as much Carol captions because of what we were dealing with, or Carol dialogue, rather. Because of the sound and Vox and all that stuff. And so it really put a lot of weight on Lee's shoulders to be able to carry both those big epic fight pieces, but also sort of the more emotional stuff, you know, especially as we got toward the end. I thought he really nailed that stuff with Captain America, and it was great.
Yeah, that's what Ben Ron just put in the chat, which I had the same thing in my notes. Captain America's response was absolutely perfect, where he just puts down the shield and says, if this is what you want, I'm going to just put my shield down and go with you. And it was amazing. I know.
Sounds like fishing for another series.
What I loved about this arc, and the reason why I wanted to read it is because I saw the heat on social media. Like, some people weren't happy. And I know Twitter is
a cesspool.
It's a dumpster fire. It is a dumpster fire. But obviously people are coming at you right out of the gate after that first issue with the big cliffhanger with Thor's head on a platter. And it's like, well, let's wait and see what happens, right? Let's wait and see what happens. And then you have the cover of the final issue with Captain Marvel with the hammer and the shield. Of course, it's gonna trigger some people, but for me, it intrigued me. It's like, I want to see why. I want to see what happened. I think it's a great arc that everybody should read. Everybody should invest in this. It's so good.
So much. You know, we definitely got pushback and hate for the two things you mentioned, the Thor thing, and then her hand holding the hammer, which is a real trigger point for some people. Mm-hmm. We definitely got a lot of horrible pushback, but I thought it would be a lot worse. I don't want to encourage worse behavior, but I don't know. I guess I've muted the right people, so it wasn't too bad.
Yep. I love seeing people get riled up about stuff like that, especially in our time of age. Like, this is like little to worry about. So much you have to complain about this. Like, geez, can't you just sit back and chill and enjoy it for what it is? Like, man.
Well, but I sort of love you saying hearing anyone say, I'm intrigued to know why that's like, that's what the cover is supposed to do, right?
Oh, exactly.
So, well, wait, how's that happening? Not, that could never happen. No.
Right.
And figure it out, you know, like, and if you can't afford to, or you're just not interested, then, you know, just shut up. Like, it's not every book has to be for every person. And if you're not interested enough to try to find out why she's holding the hammer or why she's holding Thor's head, which seems like an impossible thing, like surely Marvel Comics isn't killing Thor the month before Donny Cates is launching.
Right.
Like, let's put it together, right? Maybe there's a cool story there about how this all happened, you know?
I think that's the problem. Nobody wants to consume a story. They want to talk about the story that hasn't happened yet.
It's probably because there's no like media news, and they're all like kind of gossip channels that need that fake news.
Got to be first.
You need views. You need views.
Right. Well, people want to yell without reading it, but whatever. It is what it is.
Well, she's trading in Thor's hammer for Ronan's hammer. That's what I want to know about. Secret Empire. I want Secret Empire teasers or spoilers. You might as well just spoil it. The event may never happen. You might as well just read the comic to us on the air.
I'm pretty sure it will. I'm still pushing ahead full bore on Captain Marvel, and I know Al is moving as fast as he can with all that heavy lifting he's doing over there. So, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but she definitely, if you guys are big fans of Carol and you're interested in the hammer stuff, I mean, we deal with it in Captain Marvel so that you don't have to read the other stuff, but, you know, Al's writing pretty incredible stuff over there. It's got great art. And so the actual hammer thing happens in Empire, not in, like, when you come to Captain Marvel 18, is it 18? Yeah, 18, she'll already have the hammer, the new hammer. So if you want to see that cool moment, I urge you to check out Al's Empire stuff. I want to say it's in number 2, but don't quote me.
It is. I think that's on the cover. Or at least one of the covers. There's several covers.
We're gonna wrap this thing up and get you out of here. And then
Unless
we're
you
gonna
got
move-
something. What are you pushing?
Yeah, go ahead, Gomer.
I'm having a great time. It's the most fun I've had on the show all year. I'll be honest.
Well, let's give away some comics first, and then we'll let Kelly wrap up. Again, all the links to Kelly's website, her social media, all that's in the description below. But I want to say we're going to give away 3 autographed comics from Kelly's store. So what I want to say first, I don't know, Kelly, if you've been paying attention to the comments that are coming up on the screen that we've highlighted. Is there any listener or listeners, 1, 2, 3 people that stuck out to you that you would want to select? If you don't want to, then we can do a random drawing.
Well, I mean, I think Amy is a clear star here.
Yeah,
Amy, definitely.
our number one fan.
I think Venomized Ryan.
Yes.
Even though he got that Mr. and Mrs. X wrong.
Yeah. I'm cooling on Venomized Ryan a little bit. I have to admit.
Come on, Gomer. Come on, Gomer.
But, you guys pick the third.
All right, let's do this. So Amy and Venomized Ryan, you will both win an autographed book from Kelly. DM me on Twitter. It's at ComicCast Pod. Number 1, you can pick. What can they pick, Kelly? Captain Marvel, Jessica Jones.
I guess I have to check the stock to be sure. I mean, well, if they want trades, you'd have to check the stock. But if you want single issues, I've certainly got tons of those. You can do Hawkeye. You can do Jessica Jones. You can do. Oh, I've got some of those Hawkeye Private Eye. Those that collect like the first 12 or whatever it is. They're real cool. Carol, obviously, I've got.
These aren't comics; these are trades you're talking about now.
Yeah, let's go single issues. Don't break my wallet. Let's go single issues. Pick a character.
We got some omnibuses here.
Donate them. You don't have to buy them.
Don't listen to him, Kelly. He got that Trump check, so he's good to go on trade.
Oh,
He's not said a word the whole
here he
show
goes,
until now.
hitting the bee's nest.
He's like, let's go ahead and break Boogie's wallet.
I've been sitting in the bus waiting to run you over, man.
I'll just donate them. Don't worry about that.
Oh man,
wow.
See, that's why you're number 1 and everything.
Oh my God, that makes me feel guilty as I look at my.
Well, in that case, we're going to give away
Marvel
5 of them. I'll take that.
No. Venomized Ron and Amy, DM us which character you want, and we'll let Kelly send you whatever she wants. Now, if you want to win, you want to enter to win, put a 1 in the live chat. Now we'll randomly scroll and pick somebody. So if you want to win the 3rd copy that we're going to give away, put a 1 in the live chat now, and we'll randomly pick somebody. But Kelly, any announcements, anything coming up that you want to plug or talk about, and then we'll wrap this thing up and get you out of here.
Well, everything's a little weird. If you're dying for new comics and you like my work, I'd suggest checking out Sabrina #1. Came out digitally. That's following up on the first volume that I did. It's a great, fun book that's sort of, I would say it's like a Sabrina by way of Buffy is sort of the vibe. But we're having a good time over there. I don't know when the rest of it will be out, but it's a good start. I hope people will check out Black Widow. I assume that's going to be the fall now because it was intended to be paired somewhat with the movie, not content-wise, but timing-wise. So
Sure.
I assume we're going to push back to that. That's about it. I mean, keep reading Captain Marvel and Deadpool. I really hope people, when they come out, will give Deadpool 5 and 6 a try. I think it's a lot of the same stuff we've been doing, but a little different. And I think people who are fans of it are going to keep enjoying it. And people who maybe dipped out because they didn't think it was quite for them, they might find something a little different now.
Kelly, I have to ask, reading Jessica Jones, and just it seems like the humor in your writing style. I have to ask this. Me and Gomer were talking about it earlier. Have you ever read the Next Wave series by Warren Ellis?
My favorite superhero comic book.
Oh, nice.
Bam. Adam. Oh my gosh. We were literally talking about this in the pre-show. I cannot believe you were right.
I love Next Wave. that was my
That's awesome.
That was my introduction to Elsa Bloodstone, and it's awesome.
I very much want to do a Next Wave book at Marvel, but I don't know. Those are very big shoes, man.
Right. You can do it.
I believe you can do it.
So
and
cool.
And if there's any way you could pull it off, please.
Thank you. I would love to. Send your letters to Marvel, people.
Gotcha.
I think, Adam, you gave me all the single issues for that, and it's sitting in a box. I need to read it.
So good.
Don't yell at me.
Stuart Immonen is incredible, and he's such like a transformative artist. This is very much a more cartoonish style for him, but it's one of my favorite looks he does. It's just wild and off the wall and so funny. Warren Ellis at his absolute funniest, taking these characters that are sort of, knockoffs that nobody really cared about and making them into the most fun team around. I mean, nobody cared about Boom Boom. She's so good in it.
Oh my gosh.
Elsa Bloodstone was sort of lost. Put Monica Rambeau on the map for me.
Right.
Showing the behind the scenes of how like the X-Force treated them terribly, and it was great. And I think it was the last issue, maybe, or the issue 11, where they had those just constant 2-page spreads of that battle.
Oh, I love that. It's so great.
And I just want everyone to know what's going on right now is Kelly and Adam are just geeking out about comics right now. Okay. That's what's happening. This is the best show ever. This is the best episode we've ever had.
That's right.
Next
We're just geeking out talking comics with Kelly. Are you kidding me?
I know it was one of those series where I actually felt like when I was reading a book that it was written for me. That was that. But
I'm so stressed out right now. Let's do things in order, and then I promise, Kelly, I'll let you go first. First. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. Pick a number 1 through 8, Kelly.
7.
7.
Just so you know, we've just created 8 different timelines.
Oh yeah.
What a great poll.
Of course, you picked the one that I can't pronounce. Maldacito 1904. If you're still in the chat, send us a DM at ComicCast Pod on Twitter, and we'll get you an autographed copy. Just let us know what character you want, Captain Marvel, Jessica Jones, whatever. Let us know, and we will figure it out. Venomized Ryan drops a $5 super chat and says, Boogie, can you read my question? You're tagged in it. Now I got to go find it, Venomized Ryan.
Scroll up.
That's her favorite.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm scrolling up. It would be
Can you donate money to creators for comics?
Is that what he's asking? Because I can't find it.
Can I instead of what?
Oh, instead of getting his free comic, he wants you to donate to. Oh wow, man! I'm telling you, this is the best show we've ever done.
What is going on?
This is great.
Sorry, Ryan. Amy is still the number 1.
That's awesome.
Ryan, hit me up on Twitter. We'll work it out.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
Oh man, complete confusion for me.
My real question was, what options you got going on, Kelly?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, with TV, movie options, no one can ever talk.
Adam just wants to talk about what you're binge watching.
I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about. The Girl Who Would Be King was my first novel. I wrote a screenplay for that. I'm working with a producer. I don't know. We don't love the first draft. It's a little dark. It's a lot dark.
That's perfect.
It's not quite right. I've long thought the only way to really adapt that would be into a TV series. So we might pivot to that. I don't know. We're figuring it out, but it's been pretty cool. I had a pilot that got bought that's not based on any of my comic stuff. It's just an original pilot I wrote. So
cool.
Nice. Congratulations.
Could be a thing someday, but you know how these things go. I mean, a lot of stuff gets picked up and developed and then doesn't ever come of it. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this thing up and get you out of here. We got some comics we're going to talk about. I appreciate you coming on. We're big fans of what you do.
Yeah.
And we want you on again, not just to talk about comics. Just talk about what you're working on. I don't care what you're working on anymore. I just want to hear your opinion on Next Wave.
Normally we have people on and it's like we want to talk about anything but comics. But when you came on, it's like I want to talk about Jessica Jones. Gomer wants to talk about X-Men.
Well, we usually
Jason
have writers
wants to talk
who
about
just
Deadpool.
Shark.
Their comics aren't that good.
It's like, oh God. Gomer.
Whatever. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'd be happy to come on again, guys. I'm sorry I was late.
All good.
No, it's awesome. Worked out.
No problem at all. Thanks for coming on. We'll let you drop off and then we're going to talk about some comics.
Thank you,
thanks for
Kelly.
coming on.
Take
We appreciate
care.
it.
Protect Jeff at all costs.
Bye.
Bye. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Kidding
stress
me,
me
William. Mute Gomer. Are you kidding me?
Jeez,
That was the best time I've ever had podcasting.
right?
Dude, she's so awesome.
Kelly does.
And
rule.
dude, you know what was the cherry on top of this awesome Sunday?
Wait, yeah, I know. I do know. You want to know what the cherry was?
What?
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
I thought some beef was gonna happen.
Kelly
I was like,
Rose,
oh,
she
God.
does.
Shout out to EVS for hanging out. Hell Comics Gate. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything bad. If there
Nope.
were people from Comics Gate here, that's cool.
Yeah, thanks for
Everyone was
thanks for
polite.
dropping in.
Everyone was polite. Everything
Yep.
was nice.
That's cool.
Thanks
So
for dropping in.
we'll
No,
take
that
it
wasn't
rocking
my
and rolling.
cherry. That wasn't the cherry.
Yeah, what was your cherry?
Adam
Gilbert?
chimed in. Adam,
Made
quiet
my
the
asshole a
whole
little
time.
bit.
Cool.
Made my
Say a
asshole a
word.
little tight.
Yeah.
Don't report that, Venomized Round. There's nothing wrong with people from Comics Gate coming in here hanging out. There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with that.
we're fence
nothing wrong
riders
with that.
because again, we want to be middle of the road.
I
We
like
just want
the-
to read good comics, man.
I liked
We just wanna read
Adam's
comics.
pool though, out of nowhere, and
Yeah,
they're like,
beautiful.
they
Like,
made best friends. I was like, what?
Yeah, him and Kelly are just all of a sudden best friends. You're right. I love it.
That was
man,
amazing. That was
he
the
won
highlight.
her over with one comment while we were sitting here talking about how
Yapping.
great she was
Yeah.
for 45 minutes.
Oh man, I'm glad I got. Man, I can't. I could rave about that interview just like I was raving during the interview. That was such a good time, man.
Yeah,
I could have.
it
We could have.
Oh,
We could have
went
went another
forever.
30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Easy.
I knew this was going to be a long show because I knew we would talk forever. I read a lot of books this week. Do we want to talk about what we read this week? Or Gomer,
Did
do you
you
want
want-
to talk about the DC stuff?
Well, did you? It's gonna bring us down, maybe.
Well, then let's not talk about it because
Okay,
this
let's
is
not.
this is a fun, positive
Yeah, this
show.
is a fun thing. We don't do news often, so
Yeah, I mean, I'm good.
follow the
Alright.
Outright Geekery stream. I'll talk about it over there this week.
Let's
Alright.
get into some random reviews from SpinWiz Comics. Check them out online, spinwizcomics.com. Distribution platform for indie content, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal, man. They're pumping out content. They're trying to get an app going. They may already have it. I don't know. I'm terrible, but they're awesome. So check them out. We got a lot of new people hanging out looking for Kelly Thompson. 30 people in the live chat. Do us a favor, smash the like button. Share out the link, subscribe to the channel. Let's
Yeah.
talk some comics.
And come back. We talk comics. That's what we do here. It's fun. Thanks for hanging out for Kelly, but stay for us.
Baby, come back.
William Pace is right. It's not like Dan Slott was here.
Oh
Freaking-
jeez.
That would have been cool.
I like
well.
Ethan's books. Ethan Van Sciver can actually write and draw, unlike Dan Slott.
Oh man.
I love Venomized Ryan. Worst
Venomized
super
Ryan,
chat
I
ever.
apologize. I didn't know what was going on, bro. But,
He got
check-
lost, dude.
No,
all right. I don't want to do
Everything
any.
happened at once,
Yeah,
man.
I don't want to do any inside baseball of what was happening
ahead,
in the
go
background
ahead.
of this
You can go
show.
ahead. You can go ahead.
But Boogie's blowing up the Facebook message. I think he's texting the police. He's got 9-1 and ready to hit
Okay,
one.
that's not the truth. I try to let you play inside baseball, and you liar.
No, it was. There's
Wow.
a little bit of inside baseball. He was like, "There's some stuff going on, with people in the chat," and that's fine. We want everyone to listen. We're not gonna turn you away because you happen to have a different opinion, even if that opinion is just completely terrible and crappy. We don't want to close off any.
Gomer, that's
we
not.
don't.
That's bull crap. Don't
No,
start
that's
that
both
crap.
ways. That's both
Hey,
ways.
if you
That's
don't
both
have-
ways.
No, I can
if-
smell a turd. Stop being an idiot.
man.
No, I'm not
if you
trying
don't
to-
have
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not, dude. Sincerely.
if you don't have anything nice to say, then you can say it as long as you drop a super chat.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want in a super chat, but
There you
go.
there's nothing wrong with Ethan doing that. He's trolling. It's
Yeah.
fine.
This is a
And
good
was
time.
he trolling by coming in and saying hello and
He
saying
didn't say
that?
hello. He said hell, Comics Gate.
Well, that's his thing.
That's cool. It's fine.
That's his
That's whatever.
brand. That's
That's
his.
whatever, I
That's
guess.
his thing.
We should have said hello, sir, and we
I
counter
feel-
with Hell Hydra.
You know
I
what, let's,
feel qualified for him stopping by and saying that just because of the person we happen to be interviewing is someone that someone else doesn't care for. But
I
if
just
he
didn't
would have,
want to put it on screen while she was here and make her.
No,
oh
definitely
sure,
not.
but if he would have watched, and we'll just use Ethan as the example. I don't know him. I know his opinions, but I think if he would have listened to the show, I think he would have said that we're fair.
Yeah, I'm with Thrash Jaws here. Let's talk about some comics.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Thanks.
Oh man, no, Eli, I'm acting hard.
Who's,
I don't even know if I could act hard.
Yo, I totally shouted you guys out, man. I was listening to Comic Book Boys, and you guys were talking about New Mutants. I'm
Yeah.
trying to read that two story arc with the Bill Sienkiewicz and Chris Claremont. Some horror story. It sounds bomb, dude. So I got to read that now. I bought off of Comixology, so I'm going to dive into that sometime
Yeah.
soon.
I've met Ethan too. He was at a signing. I got my Flash Rebirth signed. Big Willie. but let's not be hard.
Jason's like, quit sucking up to EVS. I got to suck up to Eli real quick. I want to talk about some comic books. I read Jim Cornette Presents Behind the Curtain Real Pro Wrestling Stories. Adam and I both backed this on Kickstarter forever ago. And I think, Adam, did you talk about it on here? I can't even remember.
He did.
Yeah. And
It's
I let it sit there forever. But now with, comics kind of on hold, I got a chance to read it. And dude, Cornette's voice just shines through this whole book. He's telling all these great stories going back to, race wars, like back in the 30s and 40s. And it's just, and then he talks about Lawler and Andy Kaufman. He talks about Ric Flair and the plane crash. There's so many great stories in this.
If there was a college for pro wrestling and there was a history class, Jim Cornette would teach that class.
100%. And my brother from another mother, Antonio Bryce, has been spending some money in Jim Cornette's online store. He's got so many books, dude, that I want to buy them and read them. What's cool though is like
I think that's on IDW, by the way, the printed version, the regular.
Yeah, this comic is an IDW book. My favorite story in the whole thing was it Jerry Graham? Yeah, Jerry Graham, professional wrestler. He
You're asking the wrong guy. Sorry.
Alcohol addict, drugs, depression, the whole 9 yards. His mom's in the hospital, heart attack. She's on her last days. The doctor calls up Jerry Graham and says, "Hey, your mom is not going to make it very many days." Jerry Graham says, "If she dies, it'll be your last day on this earth." So he goes to the hospital. His mom dies. He goes in with a gun. He's punching people. He's shooting the gun at people, throws his mother's dead body over his shoulder and tries to take her out of the hospital.
What?
And Cornette is telling this story in comic book form. And you're like, this can't be real life. But the coolest thing is, after every story, he puts in the newspaper clippings of where it actually happened. And it's like,
what?
Oh, this is insane that this actually happened. So many other great stories. The Montreal screw job, just good fun. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, I highly recommend that book.
That's
Nice.
I read The Button, which we've talked about it a million times. Williamson, King, The Flash, Batman, great stuff.
I liked it. Yeah.
Oh no, it was great. It just what it was building up to is like Jenga. It eventually fell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but reading it after everything that happened, it's kind of like, well, this was a waste of time.
That's all Dan DiDio's fault, unfortunately. But that sucks the way things went down.
Eli's asking about that Jim Cornette book.
Yeah.
It is called Jim Cornette Presents Behind the Curtain, Real Pro Wrestling Stories. If it's an IDW book, it's a hardcover, really good quality. If you can't get it on IDW or somewhere, I'm pretty sure that Cornette has it on his website.
I think it's on Comixology Unlimited.
It might be.
I'm pretty sure it's up there.
And I bet he's charging a lot for the hardcover because it's very high quality, quality. But it's great, man. It's great. I've read all the Jessica Jones stuff. I read the Captain Marvel stuff we already talked about. And I'm starting Middle West Volume 2, but that's it. That's all I got.
Nice.
What about you, Jason? You read anything this week?
Just all those Kelly Thompson books, man. I read those 2 Jessica Jones volumes. Deadpool. I was reading West Coast Avengers. I was halfway through. I was about to start issue 6. And I got sidetracked today. The wife wanted to watch Happy Season 2 and Riverdale and something else. So we're all caught up on that stuff. But yeah, just that time was what I was going to use to read more stuff and that I didn't get to.
That's sweet how you call being sidetracked by your wife sidetracked.
Well,
I don't call it that.
I made time to, read these comics on certain days, and I didn't expect us to watch stuff, but that's fine. I did buy the Catwoman Trail of the Catwoman by Ed Brubaker and what's his name? The dude that did a Young Justice book, Darwin Cook. Okay, that book. So I'm excited to read that because apparently it deals with like Catwoman being murdered, and then Slam Bradley kind of helps solve the case. So I've been wanting to see Ed Brubaker write some Slam Bradley forever. So I'm really stoked to see how it goes down.
Have you decided what we're all reading next week, or is that going to be? Let me tell everyone what I'm reading, and then we can talk to Adam for a little while.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end.
Plan.
We'll make that up at the end. We'll figure it out.
We're gonna make it up. We're gonna argue.
Hey, thanks for being here, Matthew Lane. You showed up after Kelly Thompson and Ethan Van Sciver both left. Thanks for being here. Go ahead, Gummer. What'd you read this week?
Nothing really.
Oh, cool.
No, I
Adam,
read,
what'd you read?
I read all that stuff too. The Deadpool, I caught up on that, and the Jessica Jones stuff. I wasn't a fan of that. I think we're going to talk about it. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I read like 4 or 5 issues of old Turtle stuff. That was cool. That IDW run, I'm trying to catch up on that. And X-Men, just reading the Rogue and Gambit stuff really got me in this X-Men tear. And I was already rereading House of X and Powers of 10. So I was rereading like old 80s and 90s X-Men. It was great. So fun. Now I'm going to read Next Wave again because of Adam.
I bought a bunch of shit a bunch of stuff on Comixology.
Kelly already got us. That's good.
Okay. I definitely got, Ryland Grant's stuff, Banjax, Aberrant. That's on sale on Comixology, which you can pick up right now for a great price. I got Chip Zdarsky's Afterlift, the Comixology exclusive.
Oh, nice. I've read the first issue of that.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool.
It looks cool. It looks like a Fast and Furious kind of Mad
Chip.
Max.
It's Chip. I got such a huge crush on that guy.
Yeah, totally, dude. And then also got Jodorowsky and Mobius, The Black Inkle, Volume 1, and also the Meta Barons, which is another Jodorowsky.
Meta Barons is what's his name too? I forget his name. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool book. Again, I've only read the first issue of that. We have a podcast on Outright Geekery that like adored that book.
Oh yeah,
went off on that book. Yeah,
I saw there was a sequel to El Topo, and at first I couldn't find English version. It was just like in Spanish or French or whatever. And then I finally found like a bootleg one, but I can't there's nowhere to buy it. Like the English version, it's just like a bootleg version of the English one, unfortunately. So I was like, all right, well, I gotta read the story. Sorry, I tried to give you my money.
That's a good idea, Lost in Comics.
Yeah, dude, when you reread it, it is so much better.
Well, it's weird because every issue sort of builds up. It starts to build up the tension because Jeff Lemire writes comics that come out every month. So he builds the issue where he's got to rev your engine a little bit. But you're right, Boogie. When you read it all back to back, there's never a time for your engine to go idle and you're just on the edge the whole time. And that Sorrentino art does not let you get away. It's so amazing. Good.
And you know what? Talking about Saga, was it last week that we did that?
Yeah.
That's why it's reading so good. And it's like sitting down and reading these Jessica Jones trades back to back, just jamming through it, man.
Yeah.
And Middle West and Jason Aaron's Thor, where Jane picks up the hammer. It's like, oh my gosh.
I'm having that experience with the House of X Powers of 10 reread as well.
Yeah, it's so much better the second time. And I don't know if it's better because you kind of have a grasp of what's going on, or if it's better because you just don't have to stop. You can keep reading.
I think it's kind of like what I said. Your brain sort of has to get into this immersion, into the story. And when you read it back to back, your brain doesn't have a chance to get out. So it feels different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely think it's having the whole entire trade at your disposal, read everything all at once. It's what I've been preaching from the get-go that we see TKO doing, where they release the whole entire trade at once instead of single by single issue. I think it's definitely it's probably not a better business model. I think the better business model is releasing issue by issue so you can charge more, unfortunately. But I mean, but the better story reading is by just reading trades, reading volumes.
TKO's strategy certainly fits a niche that I think the industry needed, and I'm really warming up to Amy. She's great.
I hope she comes back.
Me too. She's awesome. She's great.
She can't.
I want to talk to her about our mutual crush on Chip Zdarsky.
Amy, can you put your Twitter handle? I probably have to follow you. I'm not sure, but if you'll put your Twitter handle, I'll make sure we touch base. Cheers to Comics is here. Hey, Brian, how about you learn to stay online during your own stream so Gaumer doesn't have to host it?
Oh, I cannot believe you're going to – that was a great day, though. I did have a great time yesterday. Sort of co-hosting the CyberCon, but not really.
That's not what you said before.
It's not, Brian. I'm so sorry. I was really oh, man, I was so happy that Brian fell out. It was just me, Rylan, and David talking about Rocky for 5 minutes. It was great. Sorry, Brian. I really am. If you could see my face, I know we're just digital avatars. Yeah. If you could see my face, you would know how sorry I am.
Yeah. Thrash Jaws, Philadelphia issue 1, I thought was perfect, and it's cool that it got options, so they're gonna make a TV show or a movie apparently.
Maybe,
but that first issue was perfect. Second issue was okay. And I don't know. I didn't read issue 3, but man,
I was going to say, has anybody read that first arc? Because I loved the first issue.
yeah, that first issue was
Yeah,
amazing.
I
It was
wasn't a
perfect.
fan of the first. It was a lot of words. I don't know. The art was amazing. The art was
Oh yeah, I think the first issue is a great standalone story. It's so good just by itself.
awesome.
Is that it, Adam? Did you read anything?
Oh, hold on. Can we stop? I'm sorry, Adam.
What's up?
And
What's
Boogie.
up, Mastodon?
Amy is asking about which TKO title she should jump into.
Good.
Oh,
What's it called?
the
Good Night
Lemire one?
Paradise.
Good Night Paradise is good. Sentient is my
Sentient,
favorite.
yeah.
That's
Sentient.
a
That's
Jeff
a good
Lemire
one.
book.
Sentient.
Sentient. The
Sentient.
Banks is pretty damn good too. Man, I picked that up the other day, and as soon as I was in the bathroom reading like the first part of it, and I set it down, and my wife was vacuuming. She's like, "Where did you get this?" And I was like, "It's on the shelf." And she grabbed it and put it back on the shelf. And I totally, until like just this moment, remembered that I was like 2 issues into that. Again, Amy,
Number 1 fan.
number 1 fan.
Minimize Ron,
Sentient,
you're still my
definitely.
favorite, buddy. I love
There
it.
you
Oh,
go.
listen.
Sorry.
But yes, Sentient definitely over there at
everything.
But
Sarah,
everything they
Sarah
do is really
great.
good.
Yeah, Sarah's great.
Yeah, Sarah. Everything they haven't done anything bad. That's why it's like, oh, what should I read at TKO? And I'm like, oh, read Sentient. But that's just because it's my favorite one, and I really dig science fiction. That's why
Yeah.
I love Sentient so much.
Right.
But yeah, everything they've
What's
have done is
crazy
great.
about Good Night Paradise is the dude that wrote it was homeless
Yeah.
in California, and he was
Wow.
living. What's it called? What's the strip called out there? Yeah, I'm having a brain
Sunset.
Yeah.
No, wherever it is where all the homeless people live, he
It's like
lived there.
Skid Row or something.
Yeah, whatever
yeah.
it is, he lived there, so
That's
he
amazing.
had that.
While writing this, that's crazy.
No. Well, no.
Like
Oh, no.
he
In the
took
past,
his
in the
life
past.
from
Right,
that. Yeah.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
William Pace says pound for pound is great. The Banks, I've heard people saying it's great.
Yeah, the Banks is cool, man.
It's just get anything from TKO. It's
Yeah.
great.
The great thing about TKO is, and this is not a lot of publishers do this. This is a big part of their strategy. If you go to their website, you can read all the first issues for free. So
Yeah.
pretty much what you're getting into. And then they also send them out in these nice prestige size, or if you get the single issues, they're in that cool box. I don't know. TKO is awesome, dude. They were our number 2 favorite publisher last year, I think, in the best of something like that.
We put them in the final 4, but I can't.
Yeah.
We let the fans vote. I can't remember where they ended up.
Yeah.
It might have been number 2.
Yeah. All right,
Adam, did you read it?
yeah.
Did you read anything?
Or
No.
watch? Did you watch
I-
anything?
Yeah,
I got,
whatever.
I got the Jonathan Hedricks. Got his stuff in the mail from the crowdfunding, the Capable
Nice.
Yeah, I need to
and
read those. I
Freak
got
Show,
'em too.
Freak Show Princess. So I'll need to check those out.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
Now I've just been catching. I watched the weird movie, The Lighthouse.
Oh, I wanted to watch it. I bought it.
Yeah.
I
it's
haven't
on my
watched it.
list. It's on my list too. Is that like on Hulu now or something?
It's on. I think it was on Prime. I think
I
I think
Amazon
so,
Prime.
too. Yeah, I bought it the day it came out, and I haven't watched it, man.
Oh,
I saw a clip though of him like grabbing a seagull and smashing it against a rock. I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that now.
Exactly.
Well, that's a. There's a lot of self love in the movie.
Yeah, I hear
I'm
that.
all about that.
But really, it's if you like The Shining,
Mhm.
Kubrick's The Shining.
Mhm.
There's a lot. I mean, it's just like a downward spiral of what is going on, craziness.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So that was pretty good. I watched that. I finished off The Man in High Castle, and I
Nice.
feel like it just kind of fizzled.
Yeah, that ending was terrible, dude.
I don't know what happened.
See,
It just
I
was
don't know if
not-
I'm even going to try to watch that now.
Yeah, the ending was just like a portal opening and people from different timelines coming over to like there, and just Jessica, the character that everyone hates, she's the hero, and she's just looking around in awe, not knowing what's going on. It's like, okay,
Yeah, it's not great. And the new content from Fallout 76. So
there you go.
I've been playing a lot of that. It's just a bunch of fetch quests and way fights and
That's fun.
a lot of me cussing. So so that's about it. Just watching a lot of TV, and I started Kurt Russell's what was it called, Soldier.
Oh
from,
yeah,
like,
that's cool.
From like back in the day.
That's a
I
good
hadn't
one.
seen it in a long time, so I just started.
Oh,
that.
it's so bad. It's one of those so bad it's good. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of
Soldier.
watching, not much reading, except for
Yeah.
Kelly Thompson stuff.
oh yeah,
William. Just go
Well,
watch
I thought
it,
the
William.
Lighthouse was just-
You weren't gonna watch it anyway, Big Willie.
I say watch season 1. You'll like season 1.
Yeah,
It's worth
season it starts off strong, but
Mhm.
then it just I got to the point where I could just fast forward through everything.
Yeah, I feel you.
And it's
If they could
I
just
don't-
shorten tighten the show up where it's just about the Obergruppenführer and like that'd be good enough.
yeah, and
You
now
meet
that
all the
guy,
other side characters.
what is he? He's a. I mean, I guess they like him because he's in another show called The Witches or something.
Ah.
Oh, the witches.
The man is it the man in the High Castle or
Yeah.
the man in
Yeah,
the
Man
man
in the High
in the High Castle about what if the Nazis won?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
was
like
nuts.
an alternate history.
Yeah, alternate
Yeah,
universe.
alternate
Sort of
history.
Dude, like I don't know if you guys ever read like a book on that. Just there's a lot of like what ifs of like history. There's like this one story always stuck in my head of like Alexander the Great. He was like in a big battle and he was on his back and some dude was about to stab him with a spear. Then that dude got shot with like an arrow like through his back. And like he, of course, Alexander the Great lived and then went on to conquer everything. It's like, man, he's like that close to death. There's just so many what ifs throughout history. It's like, what would have happened? So it's just it's always fun for me seeing the what ifs of the real world, much less the comics.
Venomous
Butterfly.
Ron, are you
Agreed.
still in the chat? Why are you harassing me? What did I do to you, Venomous Ron? He just tweeted out, Super Chat Stud seeks new favorite podcast.
Nice.
Private message for details. Not taking applications from ComicCast Podcast.
That's why I give him the emoji, man.
Maybe
He goes-
Chad Johnson's true self is coming out.
He jokes because he loves. He jokes
Yeah.
because he loves.
Maybe.
Yeah, he cares.
I guess that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Are we going to get into do we want to talk about Blind Spot or I mean we don't have to.
I don't.
We kind of talked about it with Kelly.
Yeah.
We can wrap the show
I
up.
agree. Can I?
We might as well end on a high note. And if you want me to talk about Blind Spot, it's probably not going to be a high note.
True. Do you mind if I?
Oh,
plug
sorry.
Mainframe?
Guys,
All right.
I'm struggling. Let's end on this. We're gonna play this video. You guys check it out. A lot of new people coming in today. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up. We'll be back next week. We don't know what book yet because we didn't talk about it.
We have time, don't we? Dude,
I love Gomer's
Eli's trying to pilfer Venomous Ryan now for the comic book bullies. No,
Eli,
I'm putting a stop to
I
this
will
now.
ban you from the channel. Get out of here. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, so us guys in the Comic Corps and a bunch of our other friends, we're putting together this Mainframe Comic-Con. It's an online free Comic-Con this coming weekend, and we have a lot of really cool guests, and it's going to be awesome. I'm really stoked. Chuck Palahniuk got announced recently, as well as
Nice.
Donnie Cates and his wife, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's all free online, so you can go to mainframecomiccon.com, go to the Mainframe Comic-Con YouTube channel, go to the Comic Corps YouTube channel, and watch us, please. We need some more eyes on this because we have some mad, insane guests. Like I'm really stoked to see the Kevin Smith panel, as well as Seth Green. I like that dude a lot.
How's it going to work? Is it going to be on both channels, or is it going to be like a simultaneous stream, or is one?
That's what I'm not positive, man, because
Okay.
I hear it was going to be on just the Mainframe. Then I hear it's going to be on both Mainframe. and
Mainframe
Comic
doesn't
Corps,
have very
and then
many.
now, then I hear it's going to be
subscribers.
totally on just Comic Corps because it's past the 1K. You can get super chats. And this is all for donations. It all goes to the Hero Initiative and Red Cross. So, even if you don't want to watch, you just want to donate. If you're unfamiliar with Hero Initiative, it helps out comic creators with their hospital bills and stuff like that. So it's such a great cause. And we just wanted also, I guess during this convention, we're going to have some comic book stores come on and do auctions and pimp their stuff out. So you can buy stuff as well. So yeah, check it out. Mainframe Comic-Con this coming weekend. But yeah, thanks guys for letting me plug that.
These two.
I'm excited about it.
Yep,
These
sorry.
two. Look at that beautiful face.
Yeah, okay.
Look at these two comments back to back. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy, for being here. We hope you'll join
Yeah,
us. We're supposed to
thank you,
have
Amy.
Zach Kaplan on next week. I got to reach out to Zach, make sure he's still cool to come on with everything that's going on.
I'm
But
excited to
I'll
read
touch
Port
base
of
with
Earth
him.
over again, dude. I loved Port of Earth when I first started reading it. So
And here's Venomous Ron's response to Amy.
Oh, no, I'm warming
absolutely
up
amazing.
again, Ryan. You're leaning into it, and that's what it takes, brother.
We can't have.
I love it.
What's going to happen now is Ryan's going to disappear, and Amy's going to be here every week, just like Chad Johnson.
Chad left.
What happened to Chad? He's
What
just
we need to
gone.
do is get them all three here with money in their pockets.
Why can't we have more than one fan that likes us? Like Eli's here talking trash. Willie's always here talking trash. Like we can't have more than one person that likes us. It's
hey,
like,
man, they can't all be Comics Explained.
I know. Yeah, look at this. Look at this clown. He used to be that guy. Now he's on the show.
Right.
Yeah, started from the bottom. Now I'm here.
Started from the bottom. Now we're here. Okay, let's talk about it next week. Anybody again coming in new? We normally do new comic reviews. We let our Patreon subscribers vote on a book of the week. But because of the industry being on pause, we're doing kind of a book club and going back and reading some old volumes. And it's Jason's turn.
Yeah, dude.
Jason's turn to pick. What are we doing?
Gosh, I don't know, man. It's got to be early.
Man, you had literally all day to think about it.
Jason's like, what do you guys want me to do? And Gomer says, I don't know. Pick a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly what I put there. Sorry.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I was just joking.
It's definitely going to be early Brubaker or early Hickman, one of the two.
So we're still not going to pick. We're just
my vote is either Nightly News or Pax Romana from Jonathan.
I don't think I want to do Nightly News, even though I know it's his first. Pax Romana sounds more interesting than Nightly News.
It's so good. So good.
So is that it, or we're just going to
Yeah,
leave it?
we can do that. I don't know.
His name was Ray Romano.
How about this? We'll tweet it out. Follow us at
This is his brother.
Pod.
Should we put up a poll?
His cousin,
Polls, some
Pax
options?
Romano.
I think after Adam picks a book next week, then we're going to let the patrons do a poll the week after.
Oh,
that.
really? Why would we let them decide?
I don't know,
anything
because
for
they
us?
pay us money.
Well,
At patreon.com/ComicCastPod.
thank you.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Shout out to everybody that showed up. Again, if you want a book, number one, Ron, and we've had fun joking back and forth today, but it's super cool what you're doing. And I already saw the DMs. Kelly's going to work out a way with you to donate that money. And Amy, I've got your information. We're going to get that book sent over to Kelly so she can ship it out to you. And the third person that won was, I've got it in my notes here somewhere. Where'd it go?
Yeah, go ahead, Boogie. Venomized Ryan, we wouldn't kid with you like this if we didn't love you, brother.
Yeah. It was Maldacito 1904. I never saw a comment after that. Make sure that if you can't DM us, tag us on Twitter, do something, reach out. I want to make sure you get your book. So let us know. But that's going to wrap it up. Shout out again to Kelly Thompson. She's doing great work over at Marvel. Our Twitter handles are scrolling across the bottom. Give us a follow. Subscribe on YouTube. Do all that good stuff. We're out of here. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're covering.
Face to face.
We'll be face to face next week.
You're gonna want us
y'all's faces.
You're gonna want us to be these little characters instead.
They're kind of fun though.
Dude, don't even put any ideas in their head. Just like I didn't get to see Gomer's face this week. If you could just mute him next week, that would be perfect.
There you go.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I can mute him. See, he's muted now, so that's the way that works.
Oh man,
Adam's not even at his desk. He's like in the kitchen just eating a sandwich. He's loving it. That's it, dude. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of ComicCast. Thank you, guys.
Later, dudes.
All the new listeners, we appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next week.